So, good morning, my colleagues, and I do hope everyone is well. What I want to do is discuss a real important chapter, and I know I didn't get to it before the midterm, but it'll be on the quiz again. So, it's called The Time Value of Money, and this is chapter 5, okay? And it's got a lot of different uses, this whole chapter. So I just want to go over this example in the beginning of the chapter with you, which is real important. And you'll notice the title is Pay Me Now or Pay Me Later. And that's a real important concept when you hear that. And what are they referring to? So you can see these two people are joyful. They hit lotto. Okay. Each week, millions of people buy lottery tickets in the hope of getting rich quick. In August 2017, someone in Massachusetts got the surprise of a lifetime upon learning she held a winning ticket to the 758.7 million Powerball jackpot, the second largest lotto prize in U.S. history. Okay? So she had a choice, this person, Mavis. She could take the prize in the form of $480 immediately. Okay, immediate $480 million payment. Okay, or she could collect her winnings gradually over time. She could elect to receive 30 annual payments. So this is her choice, right? With an immediate payment of $11.42 million, with subsequent payments growing at 5% per year. The sum of those payments equals the advertised lotto jackpot of $758.7 million. So the question is, what would you do, right? And here's the interesting point. Why would anyone take $480 million now rather than $758.7 million? One answer is that the $480 million comes right away, and with that money in hand, the winner can invest the money and earn a return. Right? Or you could even lose the money if you're not careful with it, right? Because of that opportunity, having $480 million today is much more valuable than having it at some point in a distant future. How much more value depends on several factors, especially and this is the big point, the rate of return, again, if it's positive, that the winner can earn on the investments. Winners of huge lottery jackpots have to make an early decision about whether it is better to take a lump sum, and that's the important term, a lump sum, and invest it, or better take the larger annuity payments spread out over many years. Okay, so these items are going to play out in this chapter. So in this chapter, you're going to learn how to make these comparisons, okay? And maybe you'll win and share it with me. Okay? All right, so let's go. Let's move on. All right, so let me run this little video here, and then I'll add to it, okay?
We've said repeatedly that the goal of a firm is to create value for its shareholders.
Hold on.
In this chapter is to create value for its shareholders. In this chapter, we begin the study of how to value things. Probably the most important question in all of finance is, what is it worth? The it in that question might be a security like a share of Tesla stock or a bond issued by the U.S. government. Or it could be an entire firm. For example, in late 2017, Disney made an offer to buy 21st Century Fox for more than $50 billion. To justify spending that much money, financial analysts at Disney must have decided that it, meaning Fox, was worth more than $50 billion in Disney's hands. This chapter focuses on one of the key principles that experts use when they value things. That principle is called the time value of money. The basic idea is that the value of money depends on when you receive it, and that money you have in hand now is more valuable than the same amount of money in the future. The reason why is simple. If you have money today, you can invest it and earn a return, and you'll have more money in the future. We can express the idea that money has time value in either of two ways. future value, or present value. When we speak about the future value of money, we're quantifying the value of money on some future date. For example, suppose you want to take a nice vacation. You save $100 every month for 36 months or 3 years, and you put that money into a bank account earning 2% interest. How much money will you have in the account 3 years later? At $100 per month for 36 months, you'll put in $3,600. But after 3 years, you'll have a bit more than that because of the interest you earn. In fact, this chapter will show you just how to determine how much money you'll have in 3 years, which is a bit more than $3,700. In this example, we would say that $3,700 is the future value of the money you saved. In general, when we calculate the future value of an amount of money, we use a process called compounding, which simply means accounting for all of the interest that money earns over time. Present value, on the other hand, quantifies the value of money that you receive or pay at some future time in today's dollars. To find the present value of money, we use a process called discounting. In everyday language, to discount something means to take it at less than face value. If you're trying on an expensive piece of clothing at a store and the salesperson says, "That looks great on you," you might discount that compliment because you know that the salesperson has an incentive to get you to buy something. In finance, discounting money means recognizing that a dollar that you receive or pay in the future is worth less than a dollar today. Suppose you want to buy a car and a bank is willing to lend you money. The terms stipulate that you will repay the loan making monthly payments over 5 years. The interest rate on the loan is 3.75% and the monthly payment is $550. If you just add up those payments, you can see that you'll pay the bank $33,000 over 5 years. But how much money is the bank lending you today? This chapter will show you how to calculate the present value of these loan payments, which is just a bit more than $30,000. In other words, the bank will give you about $30,048 today in exchange for a stream of payments that's spread out over 5 years. The time value of money is an extremely important business concept because most investment decisions that companies make involve trading off money today for money in the future. Take Disney's bid for 21st Century Fox as an example. Disney pays $50 billion up front, and over time, Disney will make money based on the movies and other content that Fox creates. The only way that this takeover can make Disney shareholders better off is if the present value of the future cash flows that the deal brings in is greater than the $50 billion required to do the deal in the first place. There's probably no chapter in this book that is more important for you to master than this one, and you can apply the skills you learn here to all kinds of personal and professional financial decisions. So plan to invest a lot of time. It'll pay off later.
Okay, so I wanted to make that point. That was a really, really good introduction. Okay. So let's move on. All right, so the 4 important words here are the time value of money. The time value of money. And that they are defined as the observation that it is better to receive money sooner than later. If I told you I would give you $1 today or $1 in 5 years, you would probably take it today, right? Because you can invest money you have in hand today to earn a positive rate of return, producing more money tomorrow. So that's the whole concept in this chapter. And it's going to introduce you to all these different tools about whether I should have money in my hand today, present value, future value. All right, so suppose that a firm has an opportunity to spend $15,000 today on some investment that will produce $17,000 spread out over the next 5 years as follows. So here's the money coming in, right? So this adds up to 17, right? 3 and 5 is 8, and 4 is 12, and 15, 17. Is this investment a wise one? And that's the big question here is, should I make this investment? it might seem that the obvious answer is yes, right? Because the firm spent 15 and got 17. But remember, it's the value of the dollars the firm receives in the future is less than the value of the dollars they spent today. So it all depends on how they could do what. It all depends is how they could really invest that 15,000 today, right? They need a way to compare cash today versus cash in the future. So this is one of the concepts we're going to learn. Comparing cash today versus cash in the future. So there's basically there's two ways of doing this. One way is to ask the question, what amount of money in the future is equivalent to $15,000 today? In other words, what is the future value of $15,000? The other approach asks, what amount today is equivalent to $17,000 paid out over the next 5 years? So in other words, what is the present value? So you see, we're looking at this from could look at this from either of two aspects, right? Right, future value and present value. So those are important concepts. And the other thing we're going to learn about are streams of cash flows. All right, so here's a timeline showing what's going on. Here's the money we shelled out. You notice that's negative, right? And here's the money coming in. You notice those are positive. This is called a timeline. Okay? So that's a timeline. So we have to do a lot of comparisons here. So that point is either the end or the beginning of the investment's life. So the future value uses compounding. And remember that word, to find the future value, right? And this is real important. Compounding finds the future value at the end of the investment's life and then sums it, these values, to find the investment's future value. So we're going to look at each cash flow. All right, so this approach is depicted above the timeline in figure 5.2. So here's compounding. We're going to bring each one to the future, right? And here's the present. We're going to bring each one to the present. So we're going to make one of two choices here. Okay? All right. So the other thing is you may have a financial calculator that does this. So if you do, they come in real handy. And here's some of the calculator. Here's the calculator and some of its keys. Okay, I'll make that large for you. And here's the number of periods. Here's the interest rate per year. Here's the present value. Here's the payment amount per period. This is the future value. And the compute is how the calculation actually gets done. Okay? So these things come in real handy even to check your work. And of course, you can also use Microsoft Excel to do that too. And I think they might have mentioned here, spreadsheet. But, you know, Microsoft Excel's got all this built in and you can use that, okay? The other thing I want to make clear is the signs. Remember, money you pay out of your pocket is negative. Money coming in is positive. So if I can scroll back, you notice how this is negative. This came out of your pocket to invest, and these are positive, okay? All right, so there's an important distinction here with cash flow signs. All right, so I'll make that important. All right, so we're going to talk about different cash flow patterns in this chapter. A single amount is just what it says. Somebody gives you money, a lump sum, right, and you invest it, right? Like say someone gives you you win an award and you get $1,000. That's a single amount, a lump sum. An annuity is many of you may have a 401k, and if you got a 401k, you may be putting money in a 401k. You put it in every month, right? So that is an annuity. And a mixed stream is if you put like money in the bank, but you put a different amount every month or every year. Say you put 500 this month, and then you put 700 next month. So, or even if you get money from someplace and they give you different amounts every month, all right? So these are examples of mixed cash flow streams. You notice how the values here are different, right? They're not constant. With an annuity, the values are always constant, right? And an example of that with an annuity would be your mortgage, right? It never changes. You get the same payment every month, okay? All right. So in any case, all right. So we're going to first look at single amounts, okay? And then we'll get to basically annuities, and we're going to do future and present value of single amounts, and then annuities, and then mixed streams, okay? So I'm about 16 minutes into this now, and I don't want to make this too long. So we'll pick this up on part 2.